Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring Vicki Boutin Fernwood Collection. This video is going to be all about product play. I love my tools, but sometimes it's fun to just dig into product and use what we have bought. I'm going to be documenting a hike at Montmorency Falls, which is just outside of Quebec City. And I realize there's no water in this photo, but that's because I was on a trail deep in the Montmorency Park, away from the falls at this point. Here are the supplies I've selected for this project, mostly from the Fernwood collection, except I did throw in some white and black cardstock, which is pretty much a staple in my scrap room. All of this came from the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, so I'm going to link up the shop as well as the products I use in the description box below. So without further ado, let's get started. Here's what's on my desk. I did prepare a frame style foundation page in advance with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them. And there's a tutorial on my channel where I do that, so that will be linked up below. So I have one 6x4 photo. Here's the papers that I have. Now the teal paper and the black paper, I gutted that from behind my foundation page. Those are the other papers from the Fernwood collection I'll be using. I also have this 6x8 paper pad from Simple Stories. I'm going to be using it for the lined and graph paper side for my journaling box. I have these alphas. These are from the Fernwood collection as well. And you're going to see I have a tray that I get at Dollarama, and that's where I keep all of my embellishments. So I have chipboard, I have alphas, I have stickers, I have tags, I have ephemera pieces. Anyway, I'm going to dig into all of that later on. The first thing I'm going to do is create a layered border that's going to go on the left-hand side of the page. So I'm cutting down a bunch of strips of paper here. I'm trying to decide whether or not to use that craft colored paper that I absolutely love from this collection. I end up going with it, so I'm going to trim this down as well. I'll put measurements for this on the screen a little bit later on when I place them or when I adhere them to the page. So right now I'm showing you where I'm going with this border. I'm basically kind of layering it up here, and my plan will be to place the photo probably towards the top of the page. That's where it goes, but at this point I wasn't 100% sure. What I'm going to do before I start adhering this border together is just apply a bit of ink, because this paper collection really has a distressed look. So I just want to add a little finishing edge to this paper right now. So that's what you see me doing. I'm using VersaFine Clair ink. It's a black one. I think it's called Nocturne. So I end up doing it on that craft colored paper as well. And what I do is I'm going to adhere all of this together. And these strips right now are still all 12 inches long, but I do end up trimming them at one point. I plan to have them fit within one of the layers of my frame. So you know that white cardstock there is at 11¼ inches, and that teal paper is at 11½ inches. I decide to go with 11½ inches, and I'm thinking if for whatever reason I make a mistake, I can always go 1/4 inch smaller to 11¼ inches. But I end up being okay at 11½ inches. Once this is done, I do know I want to mat my photo, and I haven't matted it at this point. And what you're going to see me do is just kind of addition a few different colors once I've finally finished trimming down this border here. So at this point, I'm not sure. I have white and black cardstock for a mat. I also am thinking of that craft paper, and then I know I want 2 photo mats, and I'm not quite sure what combo I want at this point. I end up going with the black and the craft. That's what I like the best. And I'm going to be cutting down that craft paper. The second mat is actually going to be 1/2 inch bigger than the first mat. So the first mat is 4¼ inches by 6¼ inches. So that means the second mat in this craft paper is 4¾ inches by 6¾ inches. Again, the measurements are on the screen. So off camera, I adhered the mats to the photo, and I did apply a bit of ink around that craft colored paper, the second photo mat. So once I have my page parts decided upon, I know where the border is going to go, I know more or less where the photo is going to go, I need to establish a spot for my journaling as well as my title. So I'm getting out a die here. This is from Elizabeth Craft Designs. I use it all the time. It's a planner page, and I'm using that graph paper, which is from that 6x8 paper pad from Simple Stories. So I'm cutting myself out a planner page, and that's basically going to be a journaling box, but it's also going to be a nice layering piece. It's going to be as well a nice base layer to an embellishment cluster. So I'm going to give you an idea how I plan to set this up on the page. Again, I'm thinking top-heavy layout, but I do, introduce the thought to myself of putting it towards the bottom. You can see I quickly changed my mind. It's going towards the top. And now what I'm going to do is show you my alpha. So this is from the Fernwood Collection, and you can see it's like a whitish as with a kind of a black outline. What I did with my title was I colored it in with this alcohol marker from Stampin' Up. It's a Stampin' Blends marker, and the color is a dark peacock. You can see I colored my title off camera to save a bit of time, but I'm just showing you how I did one of the letters. I actually saved an easy letter, the letter L. Nice straight lines. So basically, these alphas really absorb this alcohol ink really, really well. So I'm just coloring it in. There's a nice rich color. You could also spritz these letters, paint these letters. You can do whatever you want with these letters, or you can leave them as is. I just showed you a white gel pen because sometimes I color outside the lines, and when I do, I just correct it with a little white gel pen, and you cannot tell at all. It works like a charm. So I have my title on wax paper, and because of the length of the title, I decide I'm going to go with it on the far left, really to reinforce that vertical border. Had my title been multi-word, for example, I probably would have entertained the thought of putting it in the bottom right corner of the page. But because one of the two words in my title is so big, and because the title really takes up the length of the page, I decided to just go with it along the border, and I'm happy I did. So I adhered my border to the page. Once I knew how much space my title was going to take, because I really want my title to fit in that white area on the left-hand side of the page. Now I'm adhering my title, and I am adding a little bit of extra adhesive because it is chipboard, and chipboard doesn't adhere that well. It's always a good idea to add a bit more adhesive. Anyway, I'm adhering this down, and you can see I started on the far left, kind of stopped, and then continued on the far right. My title was on wax paper, so I knew more or less how much room it was going to take. But I find it's wise to start at one end, then go towards the end, and then fill in the letters in the middle. Otherwise, sometimes you end up with a title that's not centered. Now you can see I have all of my embellishing around me. So I have ephemera, I have stickers, chipboard, and cut apart tags. And what I'm doing is creating two main embellishment clusters in the top left of the photo and then the bottom right of the photo. So for this layout, everything's going to be coming out from the photo. I started by adding larger pieces in the top left that was kind of a peach color, which made me add a peach color piece of ephemera, the one that's underneath the photo there that says capture the moments, in the opposite corner. That's because I wanted to repeat the color in both corners. I do that a lot when I'm creating embellishment clusters. I work a lot with repetition of color. The same thing for that black tag that you see over there on the right. I did that because of the border on the left, which was black. So I continue tucking little pieces in here and additioning different pieces. I have the sticker sheet out. I put a little bird there on wax paper. That bird doesn't end up getting used. At this point, I have a floral cluster from a sticker that's on wax paper that I put on the bottom left. I did that because of the teal in that floral cluster, and I had already introduced teal in the top left corner. I have the big pieces decided upon. I will come in and add smaller pieces. This is about product play after all, but once I've decided on the main pieces, I'm going to adhere it. And then what I will do is continue. I just work better that way. When I have too many loose pieces on my desk, I have a hard time. The way I'm adhering it, I call it my exploding photo mat technique. As opposed to adhering the stuff directly on my page, I'm going to be adhering, or I am adhering, everything coming out from behind the photo, in the top left of the photo and the bottom right of the photo. So you saw me start with the planner page, then I added some of the larger ephemera pieces, tucked in a tag there, that's all in the top left. Now I'm also working with the layers of the photo mats in the bottom right. And I do this, first of all, it's a fun technique to use, but also when everything is coming out from behind the photo, for me, I like to have that cluster made before I actually adhere it to the page, because it helps me decide on the placement of the photo and that cluster on the page. I can kind of move it around a bit and see where I like it best. I did wait to adhere that tag over there on the left, on the right, that you see me adhering right now. That's because I wasn't sure if I wanted the tag to stick out more or just a little bit. I ended up with the tag just peeking out a little bit on the right-hand side. And what is going through my head when I'm building these clusters at this point is I want the cluster at the top left to be heavier and bigger than the cluster at the bottom right. And the reason why is because this is a top heavy layout, so I just want that to be heavier. So that's why you see more pieces in the cluster in the top left. And you're also going to see me add heavier pieces like chipboard, for example, is heavier than a flat sticker. I'm coming in with that chipboard piece right now that says noted on it, but I decide not to adhere it at this point because I do have some finishing touches and I do want to stamp a word in that tab on the planner page. So I have a stamp set here from Elizabeth Craft Designs. It's called Vacay Phrases. I use it all the time, probably because I use these planner pages all the time. Anyway, it says this way, so I'm happy with that. And once that was stamped, then I adhered that noted chipboard piece up there. Because the chipboard piece was thick, it would have been difficult for me to stamp nicely. It was better that the chipboard wasn't there. I did add another piece of ephemera over on the right, a little floral piece behind the tag, which made me go for more to add to the top left because, again, I want that to be heavier. I put a piece of vellum kind of behind that planner page and behind that tag that says wildflowers. I want to put something in the tab so you can see in the tag over there on the right, I added a round piece of chipboard. It's like this exploding circle. I'm really happy with that. But I don't like the same type of chipboard piece in that smaller tag at the top. So I actually just kind of walked away from my project, and you can see I did do my journaling, but right now I'm still looking for something for that tag in the top left. I end up going with a little enamel dot from Pink Fresh Studio. And now what I'm doing is once again going through my embellishments because I'm thinking, it's product play. I can add a few more things here. I end up taking a few floral stickers from that sticker book from the Fernwood Collection. I already had that cluster there in the bottom right, so I just added a repetition of that in the top left. And that's what you see me doing right now. Just once again, tucking stickers within those layers there. But that is basically it. This layout was actually very easy and very fun to create. Anyway, here is the finished layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be absolutely thrilled if you did. The same thing for my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec. Don't forget to check out the shop for these fun supplies and more. All the links will be listed below. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.